My name is Eno Abasi Okon, a tailor from Ikot Odiong village, nestled between the great palm forests and the wide waters of the Cross River. If you had come to our village 15 years ago, you'd have heard whispers about one strange incident, the funeral of a man who was very much alive. Yes, I was there. I saw it all with my 2 eyes. Let me tell you the full story, so you can understand why people still talk about it, like it happened yesterday. It all began with Udofia, SEN, a man we all knew too well. He was a quiet man, mid-50s, wiry, like an old fishing rope, but strong in the hands and stubborn in the mind. Udofia had made his money in Calabar selling timber. After his wife died, he returned home to Ikot Odiong and built a big house near the village square, a cement palace in the middle of thatch roofs. But he didn't mix with us. He neither joined the village council nor attended communal work days. He barely greeted people. Some said he was mourning. Others said pride was choking him. But if Udofia was anything, he was suspicious. The man trusted no one. He would lock his door even when stepping just outside to urinate. He suspected his nephews of wanting his land and his neighbors of planning his downfall. He often said, "A man must test the hearts around him before death does it for him." Nobody understood what he meant. Now, this is where the story starts becoming strange. One Harmattan morning, we woke to loud wailing from Udofia's compound. His eldest nephew, Anifiok, had gathered the elders, saying, "Uncle is dead." We found him lying cold in bed. Remember, standing there in disbelief. Just the day before, I had seen Udofia walking to the stream with his small radio under his arm. Still, the elders entered the compound and confirmed it. Or so they thought. His body was laid on the wooden bed, arms folded across the chest, eyes closed, cold, no heartbeat. His skin even looked pale. Nobody could explain it, but the old women said, "His spirit has left. Let us honor him." Preparations began. Since Udofia had no children of his own, Anifiok took charge. Within 2 days, goats were slaughtered, palm wine flowed like river water, and people came from nearby villages to pay their respects. Even those who barely knew him now claimed to be close friends. But me? Something didn't sit right. Udofia's face didn't look peaceful. It looked like someone pretending to sleep. On the day of the burial, the coffin was brought from Uyo, polished like glass with golden handles. They laid him inside, wrapped in white lace like a groom. That afternoon, the whole village gathered under the canopy. Drummers beat the Ekong drums, women sang dirges, and Anifiok gave a long speech praising Udofia and promising to keep his legacy. Then came the shock. Just as the pallbearers were lifting the coffin to take it to the grave, a voice shouted, "Put me down!" The entire canopy fell silent. The pallbearers froze. We heard it again, this time louder. "Put me down, I say!" The lid of the coffin flung open, and there he was, Udofia Essien, alive, sitting up like a man rising from a long nap. People screamed. Some ran. The widow of the village herbalist fainted on the spot. One boy even climbed a palm tree in panic. But Udofia? He climbed out slowly, dusted himself off, and looked around like he was inspecting a farm. The elders, after recovering from shock, demanded an explanation. Udofia looked at us and said calmly, "Now I know who truly mourned me, and who came to eat rice and share my things. You see, he had faked his death. He had worked with a retired nurse from the next village who gave him herbs to slow his heartbeat and cool his skin. He had practiced lying motionless for hours. He wanted to see for himself how people would react when they thought he was gone. And what did he find? Anifiok had already begun talking to land surveyors to divide Udofia's farmland. One cousin tried to sell the Toyota pickup. A woman from church brought her son to claim he was Udofia's secret child, and many mourners were just there for the food and spectacle. But some people truly wept, like old Emma Enobong, who had raised him as a boy, and my uncle, who had served as his apprentice back in Calabar. Udofia stood before the whole village and pointed fingers. You ate him. 3 days ago, you said I was too stingy for heaven. You, Ekpeyong. You told your wife that I was a useless old man who built a big house for ghosts. Anifiok, greedy vulture, you brought mourners from 3 villages just so you could boast and collect gifts. The shame that fell on them that day, I can't describe it. Anifiok left the village 2 days later and never returned. People avoided Udofia for weeks, not out of anger, but out of guilt. But Udofia changed too. After the funeral, he started greeting people, even hosting small gatherings under his mango tree. He joined the council of elders, began helping with village cleanup, and gave scholarships to 3 orphans. It was as if witnessing his own burial gave him new life. And us, we learned a deep lesson. That day showed us how two-faced people can be, how quick they are to praise the dead and curse the living. As for me, every time I pass Udofia's house, I greet him loudly. I know he's still watching, still listening. He died 10 years later, for real this time. And when we buried him, it was different. The tears were real, the songs were honest, and no one dared touch his things until the mourning rites were complete. Sometimes I think he was the wisest of us all, a man who died twice, but only once for real.